بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد Alhamdulillah, on the 6th chapter from the book of purification, Bab Nawaqid al-Wudhu, so the nullifiers of Wudhu. Last week we discussed what encompasses a correct wudu and then wiping over the socks or the leather socks. And today the Imam is going to talk about the nullifiers of wudu. So naqada means to basically to break or to nullify. Like Allah says, الَّذِينَ يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِهِ وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَن يُوصَلَ وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. That basically the ones who break the contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, talking about the evil ones or the non-believers and stuff like that, when they break the contract with Allah. يَنْقُضُونَ. This is the same word. So when you break the wudu or you nullify your wudu. The types of nullifying the wudu are basically like things that are physical, like going to the bathroom, urination, or things that might cause you to do one of those things, like emanating something from the two pathways basically. So like touching a woman, falling asleep, those are things that are not directly related to breaking the wudu, but they might be ways in which your wudu is broken and you don't know about it. So therefore the scholars included. So the Imam here starts out, وَهِيَ سَبْعَةٌ, there are seven main nullifiers of the wudu. The first one, and like it says the scholar, he starts with the general, then he goes into specifics. So he tells you there's 7 things that break the wudu, right? And then he's going to go into detail which are the 7 things. And this is the way of the scholars, they always break it down. They give you like an introduction and then they get into more detail. So the first one, he says, Al-Kharaj min as-sabilain. So basically anything that exits from the private parts. Al-Kharaj min as-sabilain, like Allah says, أَوْ جَاءَ أَحْدٌ مِّنْكُم مِّنَ الْغَائِطِ. That's the proof from the Quran. If somebody comes from using the bathroom, then he should make wudu or wash, right? And then the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba said, أَمَرَنَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم أَنْ لَا نَنْزَعَ خِفَافَنَا إِلَّا مِنْ غَائِطٍ أَوْ بَوْلٍ أَوْ نَوْمٍ, or رِيحٍ, another narration, that they were not ordered to take off their socks when they're traveling, except if they would, defecate or urinate or pass wind, right? So that's the other proof from the Sunnah. And of course, all the scholars are in agreement too that if something najis comes out of the two pathways, it breaks your wudu, right? So in terms of what comes out from the two pathways, we know urine, al-bawl, and that's all the scholars are in agreement about that. It's najis, it breaks your wudu, if it comes out. If it just like is there and it doesn't actually physically come out from the hole, it doesn't break your wudu. But even if one tiny drop comes out, that means your wudu is broken, right? Then al-wadi, that's like a thick white substance that comes usually in like very cold circumstances, or sometimes when people are lifting. It's different than urine and it's different than medhi, but that's one of the other ones, liquid that scholars say that also causes you to break your wudu, and it's also considered impure or najis. And then medhi, that's basically the pre-ejaculate fluid, or stuff that comes when a person gets excited or before sex or something like that. That's also one of the impurities that breaks the wudu. Then dam istihada, that's the irregular blood flow of a woman. So she has her menstrual blood that that necessitates ghusl when she's finished, but there's other irregular bleeding that comes out from the pathway that causes her that she should wash up and make wudu for that. Also the wetness of the woman in their private part, that's also considered amongst the majority of scholars to break the wudu as well. It's same as like the medhi of the man, basically like her, when she's in excitement or something like that. So those are the impure substances that most scholars say are impure that break the wudu, right? Also, so he says kharij min as-sabilain, meaning anything that goes out from the two pathways, from the behind or from the front, from the anus or from the urethra, from the penile, from the front part. Even the scholars say if it's a pure substance, the Hanabila in particular say even if something pure comes out from the one of those two pathways, it causes you to make wudu again. So they say like al-hasa, stones, or dude, like the worms, or sha'r, hair or something like that, irregular, usually purified things, but if they come out from those two ways, it breaks the wudu. The person has to make wudu. Other scholars, other madhabs say that if it's not accompanied with any najis, like urine or feces or something like that, it doesn't break the wudu. But the stronger opinion, wallahu alam, or the safer opinion we should say, like the Hanabila says, if anything comes out, regardless if it's pure or impure, you should make wudu. Right? Dam, blood, if blood comes out from the two pathways, according to the majority, it breaks the wudu. If it's just a cut in the area, that's different. It has to come from the pathways. Also, rih, a person passing gas or having wind from either hole, it breaks the wudu as well, according to the Hanabila. So that's the first one. Anything coming out from the two pathways. Is that clear? The second one, al-kharij, أو خارج النجس من سائر البدن إذا فحش. That najasa leaving the body, anywhere from the body other than the two pathways, obviously. If najis comes out, according to the Hanabila, that breaks the wudu, right? So, what would be an instance of najis coming out of the body other than the two pathways, the normal pathways? An example. Breast milk's not najis.
No, I'm just saying, like you mentioned, different pathways or whatever.
Yeah, that's a different pathway, but not what I was thinking. So najis has to be impure substance coming out from a other part of the body, not normal. So vomit. Some scholars say vomiting, if the food has been digested, is considered a nullifier of wudu. Some distinguish between the food being digested and not being digested. Like if you just ate something and then you kind of regurgitated it without it being digested fully, some scholars say that doesn't affect you. And if it's a little amount just comes into the mouth, it doesn't affect you. But if you have more than a mouthful or more, and it's come from being digested already, many scholars say to make wudu from that. And there's a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. There's a dispute about the issue if it's just washing yourself, cleaning yourself, or is actually making physical ablution. So to be on the safe side and it doesn't cost as much, if you throw up from the digested matter, you should make wudu again. That's a good example. What's another example? Pus, yes. And blood. Blood, especially if it's a large amount. Some scholars, they forgive if it's a tiny cut, like you're brushing your teeth and you have a small cut there, or if they use the quarter as the way to measure it. Basically, if it's bigger than that, they say you should renew your wudu. And they say that the impurity of the blood, because the Prophet ﷺ, when he told the woman who had istihada, which is not menstrual blood but the other type of blood, that she should go and clean that and wash up. So scholars derive from that hadith that blood is najis. And also the ayat, قُلْ لَا أَجِدُ فِيمَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْهِ مُحَرَّمًا على طعام إلا أن يكون ميتة أو دما مسفوحا أو لحم الخنزير. That دما مسفوحا means blood that's coming out, basically. So some scholars, they say that blood is najis. There's other opinions that say blood is not najis because the Sahaba were in battle and they were bleeding and they were praying and they didn't wash it up. The other scholars go back to them and say, well, the only reason that was because of necessity. They're in the middle of a battle and they don't have the time to go and they don't have the means to make the wudu properly. But in general, if you have the means, you should wash it off of you and you should make wudu and pray again.
How about if you donate blood? Does that invalidate?
According to the Hanabila, yes, because you're removing a decent amount of blood is coming out. Yes. The Malikiya and the Zahiriya, I think they distinguish, or they kind of go back and forth upon it. Also, in terms of the pure substance coming out from the two holes, they say that doesn't break the wudu, only if it's impure substance. But like I said, it's better sometimes to take the safe opinion to be, at ease, and if we have the choice to do it, inshallah, we should go with the safer opinions. Also, for example, some people, they have what do you call those, colostomy bags? They're not able to use the restroom correctly, so the feces or the impurities come out through the bag, and that's not the normal place, but it's impurity coming out of the body. So therefore, you should have to make wudu when that happens, right? If a person suffers from an illness, like say the woman has a continuous irregular bleeding for some time, or a man, he has the incontinence, he has urine is always coming, or even the rutuba or something, you should just wash the area, make wudu, and pray for that salat, right? And if it's very hard for the person, if it's like always happens, sometimes some scholars say they can do jama' suri, which is like combining dhuhr and asr. You wait till like the end of dhuhr time and pray dhuhr, and then the beginning of asr time you pray asr. So it's almost like doing jama' to make it easy for an individual that suffers if he needs to, instead of having to wash up every single one. But that's like extraneous circumstances. The third one is زوال العقل إلا النوم اليسير جالسا أو قائما, that the loss of intellect or sanity, except for like a small amount of sleep, and it doesn't matter if you're standing or sitting, for example, right? Because the Prophet ﷺ, when he was falling unconscious, at the end of his days, ﷺ, he used to get up and make wudu or wash up, have a bath made for him and wash up. So the scholars derive from that the loss of intellect, whether it be from deep sleep, unconsciousness, drunkenness, being high, anything like that takes you outside your normal state of mind, you should renew the wudu. If it's something like small amount of sleep, like the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they were waiting for the Prophet ﷺ after Isha or for Isha prayer, and it was kind of late, and they were like dozing off, and the Prophet ﷺ came and they prayed. They didn't get up and make wudu. So scholars say that if you have the amount, like you can kind of know what's going on, you're just like dozing off, but you can still know what's going on, then that's okay. Some say that if you had a pencil in your hand and you dropped it, that means that you lost, your control for that time. Then you should renew your wudu. So basically the ability of knowing what's going around, that determines if you should make your wudu or not. So it's not deep sleep. You hear what's going on, you can tell what's going on. That's fine. If you go and you lose it to the point where like you would drop something, or you lost knowledge of what's going around you, then you should renew your wudu. And it's not because sleep is something that breaks the wudu in itself. It's just because something might have happened while you're sleeping or while you lost consciousness, in terms of the things that we just discussed, and you don't know about it. So it's better and safer to make wudu.
For somebody who gets seizures, after the seizure he has to make wudu?
Yeah, if he lost his consciousness, yeah, he should. And the hadith is وكاء السهي العينان فمن نام فليتوضأ. The Prophet ﷺ said that basically like the tying up of the the backside or the anus is the two eyes. So if they sleep, go and make wudu. Basically meaning that something might have happened while you're sleeping and you're not sure about it, so you should therefore go and make wudu to be on the safe side. The fourth one, لمس الذكر بيده, touching the penis with the hand, or the private part for the woman with the hand directly. Some scholars say, if it has a barrier between you and the thing, like you're wearing gloves or you have pants on or something like that, it doesn't break the wudu. Some scholars say also if you did it without shahwa, without desire or something like that, it doesn't break the wudu. The Hanabila, they say just touching it without a barrier breaks the wudu. Other scholars include also the backside. If you touch the anus part, then it breaks the wudu according to them. So it's a big debate amongst the different madhahib if it breaks the wudu or doesn't break the wudu. But like I said, to be on the safe side, if you touch it, especially if it's with desire or something like that, then you should make the wudu. If you're washing, for example, you're taking a shower and you just got out of the shower and it touches the back of your arm, like here or something like that, that doesn't break the wudu. It means specifically touching the private part with the palm of your hands. So that's number 4. I won't go through the debate about the ones that say that, because there's different ahadith talking about it. That's why the difference of the opinions amongst the scholars. Some say that in the first part it was okay, and then later it became impermissible, or you should make wudu from it. Some say it's just because if you have lust accompanying it, then you should do the wudu from it. But like we said, if you touch it with the palm of your hand, it's best to make the wudu, to renew the wudu. The other one is touching the woman. وَأَن تَمَسْ بَشْرَتُهُ بَشْرَةَ أُنْثَى لِشَهْوَةٍ, that a man or woman, their skin touch each other with lust and desire. The Shafi'iyah, they say that if you touch a woman, without any barrier whatsoever, it breaks your wudu, regardless if it's lust or not. But the Hanabila, the Jumhur, the Hanabila, the Malikiyah, and the Hanafiya say that if you touch the woman with lust, it will break your wudu, but without lust, it doesn't break your wudu. And they have much proof for it, because the Prophet ﷺ, he used to pray, and Aisha radiallahu anha, she would be like sleeping, in his way, and he would move her feet basically, so he can make sujood. So he would touch her while he's praying. If it broke wudu touching a woman, then, you would, that would be right there. Also, the Prophet ﷺ used to kiss his wife sometimes before going to the salat, and it is not reported that he made wudu in between. So the scholars say that in general, if you touch a woman without shahwa, it doesn't break the wudu. If there's a barrier, gloves, clothing, that also does not break the wudu. Yes.
Is there a difference between a woman that's lawful for you and that isn't?
And other scholars, they say that as well. If a woman is muhram, or if it's like a young girl or like an old woman, something like that, that usually doesn't bring about desires, they say that doesn't break the wudu as well. But usually if it's a woman that would bring about your desires and she's not mahram, right, and you touch her skin to skin, or she touches you skin to skin, that breaks the wudu according to the Hanabila. Right. The Shafi'iyya, and that's with shahwa, like you have some desire for the woman. If there's no desire whatsoever, like we said, it doesn't break the wudu. Right. And some scholars also say, even the Shafi'iyya, I think they make an exception in like extreme circumstances, for example in Hajj, right, where it's very crowded and sometimes you can't help, for a man or woman to be touching, not intentionally, right. So it would be, according to the origin of the madhab, they'd have to go and make wudu. So that would be like you're in tawaf, and then every time a woman touches you, even unintentionally, you'd have to go all the way out, make wudu, come all the way back. So it would be very difficult. And the scholars say, إِذَا دَاقَتِ الْأَمْرِ اتَّسَعَتْ. If affairs are constricted, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He makes opening for you. Or إِنَّ الْمَشَقَّةَ تَجْلِبُ التَّيْسِيرِ. Hardships bring about ease. So in this case, I think they make an exception, saying that if you're in certain circumstances where it's almost impossible to escape being touching the opposite sex, it's excused. But in the Hanabila and the other madhab, they say that it has to be with shahwa. If it's not with shahwa, it doesn't break your wudu. Is that clear? Number 6 is ridda an al-Islam, the apostasy. Basically, leaving Islam requires to do wudu again. Allah says, وَلَقَدْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ وَإِلَيْكَ وَلِلَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ لَإِنْ أَشْرَكْتَ لَيَحْبَطَنَّ عَمَلُكَ وَتَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْخَاسِرِينَ. Allah says that if you commit shirk, Allah will negate all your actions, right? And you'll be of the losers. So the scholars, they interpret from that, if a person leaves Islam, they negated their wudu, they negated their ibadat. So they have to make wudu again if they want to come back to Islam. If they want to do a salah again, they have to make wudu. So that's one of the nullifiers of wudu. The 7th one, وأكل لحم الجزور لما روي عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قيل له أن توضأ من لحوم الإبل قال نعم توضأ منه قيل أفتوضأ من لحوم الغنم قال إن شئت فتوضأ وإن شئت فلا تتوضأ. The eating of camel meat. And this is the only madhab that says that. The Malikiya and the Shafi'iyya and the Hanafiya, none of them say that you have to make wudu if you eat camel meat. But the Hanabila say you do because of this hadith. The Prophet ﷺ, he was asked, should we make wudu if we eat the camel meat? And he said yes. Then he said, should we make wudu from eating lamb meat? And he said, if you want, you can make wudu, and if you don't want, you don't have to make wudu. So the Hanabila derive from this hadith that it's wajib to make wudu from that eating the camel meat breaks the wudu. And there's lots of explanations for why, as like I've heard some interpretations that they are descendants from the jinn or something like that, or it's the type of meat or the reaction that you have from it. But Allah knows best. The main reason is just the Prophet ﷺ said so. That's what we have in this hadith. And so to be safer if you eat camel meat, like I said, according to the Jumhur it doesn't, but according to the Hanabila it does. So you can make the wudu and just to be on the safe side. It doesn't cost you and you get rewards for it, inshallah. So those are the 7 nawaqid or nullifiers of the wudu. And after that he's going to go into what requires major ablution, which is ghusl, which are some other things. But these are the ones that require at least a minor ablution, right? Then he goes, ومن يتيقن الطهارة والشك في الحدث أو تيقن الحدث والشك في الطهارة فهو على ما تيقن منهما. So whoever has certainty that he had ritual purity, tahara, and he doubts that he is in wudu, or he has certainty that he has left ritual tahara, ritual purity, and he's not in wudu, he follows that which he's certain of. So this goes back to the principle, al-yaqinu la yazulu bi-shak. Certainty is not removed by doubt. So say for example, you made wudu, you prayed dhuhr, and then asr time is coming around, and something comes to you like, I don't know if I broke my wudu or not. I know I made wudu, but I'm not sure if I think I broke my wudu, but I'm not 100% sure. According to this principle, what do we do?
Whatever you're certain about.
Which is? So in this scenario, we said you made wudu, you prayed dhuhr, and then asr time is coming around, and you're like thinking, I know I made wudu, but I think I might have broken it in between.
No, you don't.
You don't make wudu again because you're certain you made wudu, but you're doubtful if you broke the wudu. So the certainty takes precedence over doubt. So you stay upon your wudu. Alright, say for example, you know you broke the wudu let's say right after Asr, and Maghrib time is coming, and you think, I think I made wudu. I know I went to the bathroom and I'm pretty sure I made wudu. I think I made wudu. What's the situation here? You have to make wudu because you're certain you used the bathroom, but you're not certain that you made wudu, right? But if you have what's called ghalib al-dhann, a preponderance of the evidence, basically, like you're pretty sure, and you have signs that kind of help you to be sure about it, you can use those signs, you can use that preponderance to take certainty for it. Like say for example, you're doubting about how many rak'ahs you prayed, right? The foundation is if you have doubt in a rak'ah, you count it as it's not there and you make it up because you were certain of, and you make up the one that you're doubtful from. But say you're doubting it, but then you remembered you recited a certain surah that you always recite in the second rak'ah. So therefore your knowledge of doubt, your doubt has been removed somewhat or a lot, basically. So you can build upon that and use that as like an evidence to help you go along and be certain, right? So basically anything from 51% up to 99% is like preponderance. So if you have like a strong more than 50% up to that, you can take that into precedence. You can weigh it together. So if you have 100% certainty of one and it's less than 100% for the other, you take the 100% obviously. But if it's like 50-50 and you have the other proofs to help you along, you can take, use that other proofs to put you up to the level of yaqeen or certainty. Yes.
So say you thought you had wudu and then you just went and prayed and then you remembered, oh, I did this and I did not have wudu. You would have to make up, say the prayer, for example, right?
Yeah, you'd renew your wudu and renew the salah. Make up the salah. Yeah. So that is the chapter of Nawaqid al-Wudu, the nullifiers of wudu, alhamdulillah. You have some questions or you got them all?
Yeah, not related to what we spoke about.
Okay. Do you have any questions on what we talked about? Yeah, first.
Just about the whole shaking hands with women. So, is there anything that says it's haram to shake a hand with a woman?
There's some narrations that say that it's like the Prophet ﷺ never did so. Those are authentic narrations. And there's another narration that has like a kind of a severe warning, but some scholars say that's not authentic, right? So it's kind of like a ijtihadi issue in a sense. If you can avoid it, alhamdulillah.
Say in a professional situation, like say you go to an interview and the person interviewing you is a female and they get up shaking hand
Yeah. So you can have your hands in your pocket or sneeze. You can explain it to them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Because sometimes it's better. Like the Prophet ﷺ, he said, al-halal bayn wal-haram bayn وبينهما أمور مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس. Like the halal is clear and the haram is clear, and in between are a lot of affairs that many people don't know about, like the gray area, right? متقى شبهات فقد الصبر لدينه وعرضه. Whoever stays away from that area has saved his deen and his honor, right? So in general, sometimes when there's like doubtful matters, like some scholars say it's haram and some say it's makruh, like if you can avoid it, it's better, right? Or if some scholars say this is wajib and some say it's mustahab, if you can do it, it's better. So that way you're out the gray area, and Allah knows best.
Is the camel meat, is that a hadith, like the one about touching privates?
In terms of disputing amongst the scholars, yeah, there's a disagreement amongst the scholars on both of those. So in this case, if you want to stay away from if you want to be 100% sure, like no one can blame you, you make wudu on both cases, so you're safe, right? But if you see somebody that follows the other way, it's okay because they have their proofs and stuff, and it's not something that anytime the scholars of the past and the Sahaba especially disagreed upon an issue, there's no use in arguing over that issue. Like you can say this is the way I follow because of this, and this is the way that you follow because of this and this, and like it's okay. It's not a big deal. Some people get into issues and fights and arguments over issues that are already been argued and debated over 1,000 years ago. Like you're not going to bring something new to the matter, right? You're just wasting your air and you're causing like harm, which is haram, to not really achieve anything. So in matters of dispute, like there's certain things that we mentioned are clear cut, everybody agrees upon, there's no doubt about it, but then there's issues where there's a difference amongst the scholars, and those issues, alhamdulillah, there's give and take. Like you can not have to argue about somebody if they follow a different way.
And going back to the shaking hands thing, is it only for, say, someone who like unlawful to you, or is it like just in general? Like say like if it's like say like your friend's grandmother or something, like does that? No,
I mean it's mostly for obviously the non-mahram. If she's mahram to you, then there's no issue. Like it means the ones that you can marry. Anybody that you can marry basically is considered non-mahram, right? And you're not married to her, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm just saying, like an elderly person, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's the same way with the
Yeah, I mean some scholars, they make exemptions for like the little young, opposite sex, the young children, or the older people, because it's not what a normal person would have like sexual desires for. So some people exempt those, right? Some people are very strict and they follow it to the T, that you can't, unless she's mahram, you're not supposed to touch her at all, no matter what. So, yeah, it can, also like sometimes people are adopted, or they grew up with this family and stuff like that. So some scholars, they give a little bit more leniency for these type of situations, So we mentioned the dog's saliva, according to the Hanabila, is impurity, so you should wash it. If it's in a bowl or a container, you're supposed to wash that container 7 times. One time with, turab, like soil or dirt or dust, or some scholars say with like detergent. It can suffice. The Malikiyya say it's not najis. The only reason we do it is because there's like something, it's called ta'abbudi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders to do it, and there might be some hikmah, for example, behind it we don't really know about. Some scholars say there's like some certain type of germs that need to get killed from it, that's why, with the bowls in specific. But if they just like lick you or your clothing or something like that, the Maliki, and they say that it's not najis, it doesn't break your wudu, you don't have to wash it, for example. They have proofs in terms of like the Quran that the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He allowed us to hunt with the dogs, right? And when they eat the prey, or they get the prey for you, they put their mouth on it. And there's no hadith saying that we should wash that area. And they also say that there was dogs in the time of the Prophet ﷺ that used to run through the masjid, right? And it's very hard to imagine that they didn't touch it with their tongue, or even sometimes using the restroom in the area, for example, or at least washing, rubbing their bodies up against the walls, or through the buildings. And there's no hadith saying that that the Sahaba were ordered to wash that as well. So their opinion is very strong in terms of it not being najis, and it's kind of easier too for us in this country. Like sometimes when you're around, like non-Muslims that have these pets and they come up and they lick you, then you'd have to. It's kind of difficult to go and wash it every single time, especially if you work in those type of environments. So, Allahu Alam, that madhab is pretty strong, and it's, I think, applicable especially to where we live. Also, you're allowed to keep dogs for hunting and for guards, purposes, or shepherd herding and stuff like that. And there's no other narrations that say that you should wash your clothing or make wudu from it and stuff like that. Wallahu alam.
Would it be allowed for a dog to be, for you to pray in a room that a dog was in, if you're at like a friend's house and they have a dog, and you want to pray in that room and the dog has been in that room?
Yeah, it's okay, as long as it doesn't like it's not walking if like walking in front of you and stuff like that. It's okay. There's some narrations that say like the angels don't enter the house that have like the hand paintings or the dogs in it. So that's another thing. But your salah is sahih. It's still correct, inshallah.
So what
It was going to be pretty much like along the same lines.
Yeah.
So like and plus like I mean I'm not 100% sure, but you can't have like a pet dog unless it's for like the reasons you mentioned, shepherding or.
Yeah, the majority of scholars say that it should be for like guarding purposes or farming, herding purposes, or blind, like for the blind people, or hunting, these type of things. Wallahu a'lam.
A brother told me that if the dog isn't owned by you, then you lose wudu. But if it's owned by you, something like that. He said that because I went to his house and he has a dog. He lives on a farm. I made wudu when we went for salah. The dog jumped up and licked me. So I said I had to go make wudu again. He said no, the hadith says that if it's your dog or something, then it's something like if it's your dog, it's you have to make wudu. But if it's not your dog, you don't have to make wudu. But is there any evidence for that, or is that just?
No, I mean there's no, from as far as I know, there's no scholar that says you have to make wudu at all. Anyways, it doesn't break your wudu. It just the difference is do you have to wash it or not. So, the ones that say it's najis, they would say you have to wash it, that area where the dog was licking. But the Maliki would say no, it's not najis, so you don't have to wash it. As long as unless it licks in a bowl specifically, like the Prophet ﷺ said, or one of your dishes or something like that, then you have to wash it. Yeah. But it doesn't break the wudu. Yeah. In general, most things it's like coming out of the body that break the wudu, and we said the exemptions, for example, like the touching part. The only reason those are listed as the nullifiers of wudu is because usually with the touching accompanies something coming out of the body. So the pre-ejaculate fluid, usually like if a person has some exciting, he has that desire for a girl that comes out. That's why they say that you have to make wudu when that happens, or touching the private part with lust, something like that. But in general, just touching the private part or touching a woman with no lust accompanying whatsoever, nothing comes out, that doesn't break the wudu in of itself, right? So the outward things don't generally break the wudu. So a dog touching you or walking past you won't break your wudu.
So I was going to ask, say like, what is say like you making changes to your body? Like I know like people like who get liposuction, or say like, say like how you can shrink your stomach, like they cut like your stomach and it becomes smaller so you lose weight or something. What's like the ruling or like the evidence behind that?
That you can't do that?
Yeah, like that you cannot or you can.
Well, if it's for health purposes, it's permissible. For example, some people suffer from like diabetes or certain obesity or something like that. If there was some type of health benefit to it and it doesn't cause a greater harm than good, I think that would be okay. Wallahu a'lam. But if it's just for beautification purposes, adding something that's not really part of your body, those type of things are generally not allowed. Because it's considered from changing the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So like tattoos or putting in sewing in fake hair, I think for the women especially, like wigs and stuff like that, like breast increases, stuff like that. Allah.
Say like how about a vasectomy?
A vasectomy is not encouraged or allowed in general because the purpose of marriage or having sexual relations, first and foremost, is actually to procreate. The Prophet said, "Tanakahu, tanasanu fa'ni mubahim bikum yawm al-qiyamah." Like to marry and be fertile, have children, so I can be proud of you on the Day of Judgment. So some scholars say to try to eliminate it, that it's considered forbidden in totality. Some scholars allow for temporary birth control measures. Some say none whatsoever, but some say temporary. But the ones of like a woman, having, they say like sealing up the uterus, or the man having the vasectomy, then those are like permanent based usually. They say no to that. Wallahu a'lam. But generally, like how Allah created you is how you should try to stay. Yeah. If there's like a deformity that's not normal, or some type of medical necessity, the scholars make exemptions for those, right? But if it's just like, some people getting plastic surgery for just try like more beautiful, or changing the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allahu a'lam, that's not what we're really about. Like we're not in this dunya for that purpose.
So going back like a point off of that, how about like organ donors?
Organ donors, like while you're alive or after you're dead?
Both.
There's a difference amongst the scholars too, because in general you're supposed to maintain your body and protect your body. It's like a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in life and even in death. Like you're not supposed to cut yourself up or cremate yourself and stuff like that after you passed away. But some scholars say that if you can relieve a harm or bring about a life, save a life, without corrupting the body, like making it totally disrespectful, like cutting it up and improperly,
Say like
just like moving the one organ and you stay intact completely, something like that.
Say like you have two kidneys.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's not going to bring you greater harm or cause you harm in the future, then it's okay, inshallah. That's something like, those are some of the recent fatwa. So I'll go back and double check, inshallah. But from what I remember, that if you can, save people and it won't bring you a harm in particular, some scholars allow for that.
So, and how about, when you slaughter, like, say, whatever, chicken, meat in general, right?
Yeah.
How you have to basically, like in order for it to be halal, you do it like in the name of like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, how about in like a plant where they process like say like a chicken farm or something? Like, would they have to say for every chicken that they kill or something?
Some scholars say that you have to you say Bismillah on every animal you do. Some say as long as it's slaughtered properly and nothing other than the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned upon it, then you can mention Allah's name upon it when you get it. So Allah knows best. But usually if it's halal, labeled halal, I think they usually have the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned upon each of the ones that are slaughtered. And kosher too, like the Jewish religion, they have to have that like specifically. Wallahu a'lam. نمشي نصلي. Alright. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. يا الله.